Good morning. My name is Méabh Garrick and I am the International Partnership Manager here at CeADAR. Today will be the first of a number of monthly updates on European calls. So the reason behind this webinar really is that since beginning to learn about the many different European funding programs and instruments, what I've discovered is that the funding landscape in Europe is vast, that there's so many different types of funds with different criteria and different application mechanisms. So I've actually extracted all of the framework programs, funding programs from the Cordis website here in these tiles on the right. And as you can see, there's many of them, so it can be quite confusing. So the idea of these calls is that I'll be able to extract relevant calls from as many of these that are on my radar and bring them onto your radar. So normally the calls will be across the board, but today I'm going to focus on Horizon 2020. So it'll be a bit unusual. So the idea will be that these will be short, concise webinars and just a snapshot of relevant calls. So the main focus of today will be the European Green Deal. And I'll touch a little bit on the Marie Curie Fellowship, but the Green Deal will open next week, so it's very topical at the moment. And it is the last call of Horizon 2020. And it brings together almost all of the topics of Pillar 3, which is the societal changes. It'll run into Horizon Europe as well, which makes it's a very important program to be a part of. So starting with the Green Deal. Green Deal is the European plan to develop a sustainable EU economy. So when Ursula von der Leyen became president of the European Commission, this was her mission, was to get this Green Deal through. And this call, it will be €1 billion in funding, so it is a very big budget. But on the grand scheme of things, in the European Green Deal investment plan of $1 trillion, it is really the direction that Europe wants to invest in. So 35% of the European budget, I think, is going to go towards climate change and green progress. So the aim really is to make Europe climate neutral by 2050, and they're actually going to write this into law soon. So it's very topical, very important to the European Union that this is the direction that Europe follows. It's aimed at all sectors, public and private, involved in research and innovation. General technology readiness level is TRL 3 to 7. Deadline is the 26th of January. So it runs a little bit into Horizon. Horizon Europe will start early January, so it'll actually overlap with Horizon Europe. And it is opening on the 18th of September, so opening next week. So the final information will be out next week. Just on that topic, just to reiterate that what I'm presenting here is the last draft. So please don't take any of the details as gospel or the budget allocation as definite, because what I've noticed is in between drafts they have changed budget around to rejig things, so it's important to be aware that when the call comes out next week, you'll at least be aware of the topic of each, or the general area or the general direction of each topic, and you can investigate further. So the funding rate then is 70 to 100%. The call areas, so there's 8 themes, and then there's cross-cutting. The main themes or call areas are climate action, clean energy, sustainable energy, building and renovation, sustainable mobility, from farm to fork or sustainable agriculture, biodiversity, eliminating pollution. And then the cross-cutting areas are the strengthening our knowledge and empowering citizens. And you can see here in the budget overview, the preliminary budget overview, this might change a bit next week, especially with the COVID situation. But climate action, clean energy, very well funded, which is expected. I just want to give a quick overview of types of actions that are typical with this type of call and with previous calls. So there are three main types of action: the research and innovation action, and coordination and support action. Research and innovation action, as the name suggests, is basic and applied research, the lower TRLs. It's funded at 100%, and the general criteria for consortia is a minimum of 3 partners from 3 different countries. Innovation action, mid TRL, so 4 to 7, funded at 70% for industry and 100% for non-profits. And again, same criteria for consortia, minimum of 3 partners and 3 countries. And coordinated support action, as the name suggests, is for supporting the topic. Reimbursement rate here is 100%, and you can go alone with the coordinated support action. General, just to make the point that it is general criteria, there are always additional criteria for each topic, so it's important just to make sure you check out that section and make sure that you're meeting it. So I'll go through the call areas one by one. The first one is increasing climate ambition. Addressing research and innovation for climate mitigation and adaptation, 173 million, so it's a big chunk. Preventing and fighting wildfire has got a huge amount of the budget, 75 million for this first topic alone. Prevention and preparedness, detection and response, restoration and adaptation. And these are the innovation action covers these 3, and the coordinated support, my understanding, is supporting that innovation action. Secondly is towards climate neutral and socially innovative cities. And this is about developing a one-stop platform to assist cities in climate action plans. So huge amount of money for this. One consortium will be selected, and 53 million for this research and innovation action. The third topic then, climate innovation packages for EU regions. It will be innovation action and a coordinated support action. Transformation and adaptation of EU regions and communities. Moving on to call area 2, clean, affordable and secure energy. This is aimed at decarbonising the energy sector at low cost, and the budget for this should be around 180 million. There are 3 topics in this call. The first one, offshore renewable energy technologies. The name suggests that it's just offshore, but there's actually an IA and an RIA. The IA is large-scale development of offshore renewable energy, whereas the RIA is actually land-based renewable energy and integration into the energy system at 3 to 6 million. So there is a bit of land-based renewable energy in that one. Second topic, developing a 100 milliwatt electrolyzer. This is related to the production of renewable hydrogen as energy carrier or as energy carrier or as feedstock. And now normally an innovation action would be funded at 70%, but the funding rate, an exception has been made for this topic to bring it down to 50% in the draft text. So it'd be interesting to see if that's still the case when the call is released. The third topic is accelerating green transition and energy access partnership with Africa. And this involves innovative solutions for renewable energy, energy efficiency, climate adaptation, etc. This is an IA at 40 million. And this, in the previous draft, this was actually its own call area. So they have made a few changes to this, as well as moving it into call area 2. So there is a focus on this partnership with Africa. Call area 3, industry for a clean and circular economy. And this is to do with support for switching to alternative climate neutral energy and feedstock sources. It's 2 topics. The first one is around sustainable alternatives to fossil resources, production of synthetic fuels and chemicals from industrial CO2, and it's an IA at 40 million. The second relates to a territorial deployment of the circular economy in at least 3 territorial clusters in Europe, and 20 million for that one. Call area 4, energy and resource efficient buildings. And this is focused on renovating and retrofitting social housing, schools, hospitals, and it has one topic: reduce emissions in construction, recycled materials, and transition to energy positive buildings. And 15 to 20 million IA, 16 million for the topic. Call area 5, sustainable and smart mobility, and this is aimed at reducing by 90% the transport emissions by 2050. 100 million going for this one in two main areas: green airports and green ports. And according to the draft text, there should be 2 to 3 projects in each of these two areas. 20 to 25 million and 100 million in total. So I would imagine that Dublin is a good candidate for this topic with Dublin Port and Dublin Airport. Call area 6 is the farm to fork. So as the name suggests, it's aimed at farmers and also fishermen across the entire chain from farm to fork. So it's 74 million for this one. And the aim of the only topic in this call area is to test, pilot and demo solutions to one of these 6 subtopics listed here. So it's climate neutral farms, climate neutral food business, fertilizers and pesticides, antimicrobials in meat and fish, reducing food wastage and unsustainable packaging, and finally shifting to sustainable healthy diets. And it's 9 to 12 million IA for these. Call area 7, biodiversity and ecosystem services. So this is around restoring biodiversity. It's 80 million in total. There's one topic for this one again, so restoring biodiversity and ecosystem services, and at least 2 projects in each of freshwater river systems and coastal marine. And it's RIA 16 to 25 million. Moving on to call area 8, zero pollution, toxic free environment. And this is aimed around elimination of pollution, microplastics and chemicals. 2 topics in this. The first one centers around monitoring, mitigating and elimination of chemicals in air, soil and water, RIA of 8 to 12 million. The second topic, applied research to identify and quantify and prevent harmful chemicals from industrial sources and pharmaceutical sources, and 4 to 6 million for that. Moving on now to the cross-cutting calls. So these are not as specific, and as the name suggests, they cross all areas. So 110 million estimated for these two. I won't go into each topic here, but area 9, strengthening our knowledge and support of the European Green Deal. Interesting one there is 9.3 towards a digital twin of the ocean. And these 2 RIAs and an IA of 12 million. Area 10 then is empowering citizens for the transition towards climate neutral, sustainable Europe. This area is really focused around citizen engagement and this idea of leaving no one behind. So you'll see that throughout the Green Deal text, is that there is a focus on all countries advancing at the same rate and being level with a level playing field. So this is the focus really of area 10. So just a summary table, an intimidating summary table of the Green Deal, which just breaks down all of the calls that I went through there. And I can send you this out in Excel format as well after the talk. So moving on to the Mary Skłodowska Curie Fellowship. And this is an interesting one because it means that companies can have an experienced international research fellow at no cost to a value of 250,000. So that will cover their salary and their training. These fellows are industry focused. They have experience in AI and data analytics. And the company will define the project, and they will work with CeADAR in a collaborative way with the fellow. So typically the fellow would spend 3 days in CeADAR and 2 days with the company. This is aimed at EI and IDA clients to a duration of 3 years. And as I said, no cost at all to the company, so 100% funded. And the deadline is the 31st of December. Now for events and deadlines. So interesting event coming up is the European Research and Innovation Days. And this is an annual event. Obviously this year it's going to go virtual, but here you'll find out all the information on the Green Deal that I went through in this webinar, but after it's been released, so in more detail, they'll go through the upcoming Horizon Europe framework program, which begins here at the beginning of January. It'll be centered around those missions of Horizon Europe and planning for it. Everything you need to know will be at this event, and there'll be brokerage as well. Another interesting one is a H2020 virtual brokerage event centered again around the Green Deal, organised by Enterprise Ireland and Invest Northern Ireland. And there's a lot of international companies already signed up for this. So once you register for this, you can see a full list of who's there and you can set up meetings. It's very useful. So just a quick slide about finding partners and how you might go about that. So a good way of finding partners obviously is attending networking events, exploring your own network, liaising with the national contact points, and especially being on their distribution lists and being on their radar is important because they can set you up with potential partners or consortia. You can also use the partner search areas of the funding and tenders portal, and I have a screenshot of that here. So once you go into a call, so when the Green Deal comes out on Friday, once you go click into the topic that you're looking for, you can scroll down and you'll get to this partner search area. It is a good way of not only finding out who is looking at a call, but also finding out the popularity of a call. So you can see the number of organizations that are looking for partners. And you can also advertise yourself on this by registering an account on the Cordis website and entering your company pick number. So it's a good way of navigating the topic and seeing who's looking at it. Research successful projects and consortia on the Cordis project results section. It is said that 65% of successful proposals are from previously successful consortia. So it's a good idea to see who's successful at Horizon 2020 and to try and get in there, especially for your first project. To get in a successful consortia would be a good way to go about it. And of course, talk to us at CeADAR. I'm happy to talk to anyone about potential collaboration on the Green Deal or any other topics, or just even to discuss potential collaborations. And finally, some websites and social media to be aware of. I find myself that browsing websites is never a good way for me to stay informed. I like Twitter because it's a quick snapshot of what's going on, and it's always links, less text, and you can scroll through important European pages, and it's just a great way of getting the information quickly. Another good one is to be on the national contact point distribution list, as I said in the previous slide. Very important because they're more focused to your industrial sector and they'll know who you should be talking to. And it's always good to get to know them. Maria Gabrielle on Twitter, she's the European Commissioner for Innovation and Research. She really is the one for Green Deal, Horizon 2020, that is putting out all the information. So she's a good person to follow. And that's the end of my webinar for today. If you have any questions at all, please email me on the email listed there, or ask me at any time. Thank you.